We all think of Alice in Wonderland as this brilliant, classic piece of nonsense, right? A wonderful story for kids. But what if it's not nonsense at all? What if, hiding just beneath the surface, there's actually a very precise, very detailed map for a journey into the deepest parts of the human soul? All in the golden afternoon. It sounds so peaceful, doesn't it? Just setting the scene for a lazy, dreamy day. But in the language of symbols, which is what we're speaking today, this isn't just a setting. No. This is the first key. This is what unlocks the entire journey. Most people read this as pure fantasy, just delightful, chaotic randomness. But what if I told you that nothing in this story is random? That every single character, every object, every bizarre event was put there for a very specific, profound, and esoteric reason. That's how we have to look at Chapter 1. We're not reading a story, we're decoding a secret map, a guide for a spiritual journey into the self. Okay, so our journey starts right where Alice's does, on the riverbank. Because before she even moves, the story takes great care to set up the exact spiritual and mental state you need to be in for a journey like this to even begin. See, this line isn't just about the weather. That sleepy and stupid feeling, that's a huge clue. It's describing a state of dissolution where the sharp, calculating mind, what we call the ego, starts to soften and fade away. And that's what makes room for a deeper consciousness to finally wake up. And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at how every single detail maps perfectly onto a spiritual concept. The golden afternoon? Well, that's astrotheological code. The sun, which is the symbol of the conscious ego, is setting. Her sleepiness points directly to the Sahasrara, the crown chakra at the very top of the head, our center of deep meditative rest. And her sister's boring book with no pictures or conversations, that's the dull, rational, everyday world that she's just about to leave behind. So, you see, the riverbank isn't just a place. It's a threshold. It's the border between two completely different realities. On one side, you've got her sister's world, logical, ordered, safe, and known. But on the other side, that's the sacred space Alice is about to step into, the chaotic, symbolic, and deeply intuitive inner world of Wonderland. But you can't just wander across a threshold like that. You need something to push you, a catalyst, a shock to the system. And for Alice, that shock shows up in the unforgettable form of the white rabbit. Now, this is not just some rabbit. This is a classic mythological archetype, the herald. It's the call to adventure that always signals the end of your ordinary life. And think about the paradox here. It's an irrational creature, a rabbit, doing something perfectly rational, checking a watch. That's the hook. That's what shocks Alice out of her sleepy state and grabs our attention. So what is this rabbit really? Well, its true role is that of a psychopomp, a guide for the soul into the underworld, or in a psychological sense, the unconscious. In astrotheology, this quick, flighty messenger is always ruled by the planet Mercury. Alice isn't just chasing an animal. She's following this mercurial divine impulse from deep inside herself that's telling her it's time to change. And get this, even its appearance is a code. Those pink eyes aren't just some weird detail. They are a direct symbol for the activation of the Ajna chakra, the third eye, the center of our inner spiritual sight. And the watch? Well, that represents the total collapse of linear, man-made time, because she's about to enter a world that is eternal and non-linear. So Alice decides to pop down a large rabbit hole without even thinking about it. That's it. That's the moment of absolute commitment. It's a total leap of faith. She's rejecting the safe horizontal world of the riverbank for the dangerous vertical world of the spirit. So she's falling. But this is so much more than just a fall. This is the central alchemical event of the entire chapter. Notice how it's described. It's slow, it's uncontrolled, and it happens in complete darkness. What you're witnessing here is the symbolic death of her old self, of her ego. In alchemy, there's a name for this. It's called Negrito, the first stage, also known as the blackening. It's this absolutely necessary process of dissolving the old you, and it's governed by the planet Saturn, the planet of gravity, structure, time, and death. Her ego is losing all control, completely surrendering to the gravitational pull of her own deep, dark, unconscious self. And as she's falling, the clues just keep coming. The well itself is a perfect metaphor for the spinal column. The bookshelves floating by, that represents separatio, another alchemical process of separating yourself from useless rational book knowledge. And the empty jar of orange marmalade, That is a huge, huge symbol. Orange is the color of the solar plexus chakra, the Manipura, which is the seat of our personal will and power. The jar is empty. The story is telling us her inner fire is missing. So you see, this fall is anything but random. What you're actually looking at is a precise map of a journey down the Sushumna Nadi, the body's central energy channel that runs right along the spine. Her consciousness is being pulled downward, step by step, from the crown of her head to the very root of her being. And then, thump, Alice lands, softly. The fall is over, she isn't hurt, but she has been completely, fundamentally changed. The first and honestly the hardest stage of her initiation is now complete. She's been taken from that golden, sunlit world of the conscious mind and plunged deep into the dark, foundational earth of her own unconscious. And the great secret is, the journey up can only ever begin once you've truly touched the very bottom. Okay, so let's just quickly recap what just happened here, because it's a lot. Alice has just gone through the painful but totally necessary first steps you find in every single great mystery tradition. Her ego was dissolved in the negrito of the well. She shed all her rational clutter through separatio. And now she has finally arrived at the foundational base of her own being, the root chakra, the Muladhara. And that right there is the profound paradox at the very heart of Chapter 1. We're being shown that true spiritual ascent, it doesn't begin by climbing up towards the light. It begins with a total, uncontrolled, and frankly terrifying fall into the dark chaos of the self. So she's completed the fall. She is initiated. She's been broken down into her most essential parts. But the journey isn't over, not by a long shot. It has just begun. And so the great question is posed. Once you've made it all the way to the bottom, how in the world do you begin to climb back up into the light?